loves, and welcome back to Americans Who Love Britain with another installment in our food category. Food seems to be the thing for me these days. Your happy Texas-based anglophile here, Scott Jones, back in the kitchen with a viewer request. Loyal channel watcher Sheilda from Birmingham, Alabama, is a frequent commenter and came up with a suggestion on making authentic Cornish pasties. Not pastries, not pasties, but pasties. So thank you, Sheilda from Birmingham, Alabama. She is married to a full-blooded Brit, and we're always talking about great ideas for this channel, and I want to thank her for this idea. The Cornish pasty, a little bit of a trivia on it. It was actually invented, or its origins go to Cornwall section of England, where there's a heavy mining presence, and miners used to make these little pastries. They look like what we Americans are used to calling fried pies or whatever, but they used to take them down in the mine as a lunch, and it's a real simple recipe, which by the way I posted down in the description, so I'm going to walk you through the ingredients and put them on the screen, but don't feel like you have to take notes. There's a printable link to the recipe in the description below. But anyway, there's a lot of great ingredients to them. They're a basic meat and potatoes thing. They're relatively easy to put together. I pre-made my pastry because I didn't want to bore you with putting together the basic ingredients for a pastry. I've already put it together and pre-made it. So I'm going to walk you through the ingredients, and we're going to put these beauties together and pop them in the oven so you can see the finished product. So let's move to our assembly table here. All right, here we are with our ingredients with a little bit of a twist. What I've got here is about a pound of what we call in the U.S. stew meat. It was already pre-cut, although some of the chunks were a little big, so I cut them. I wanted the consistency of about a ½ inch cubed, but this is basically sirloin steak here. In this bowl we have the equivalent of 3 cups of diced potatoes. It says 3 medium potatoes in the recipe. I used 2 large, and it gave me just a titch over 3 cups, which I'm going to put in here. Also, we have 3 stalks of green onion, finely chopped here, 1 teaspoon and of salt, and a heaping quarter teaspoon of black pepper. And some of the recipes out there, they have peas and carrots. While this one doesn't call for it, I'm going to put that in there. This is about 2 cups of peas and carrots. They were frozen, and I warmed them up a little bit to room temperature in the microwave. But I like the color and the flavor they're going to add. So what we've got to do is we've got our meat here. We're going to add our diced tomatoes. Or potatoes, excuse me. I don't want to get too many in there. We're going to pour in our chopped green onion. As you can see, we're going to add all of our salt and pepper here. Just spread it around. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and toss this. This has got our seasonings, our potato, and our onion. You just want to toss it and make sure everything gets coated with the seasonings. And I'm going to add the peas and carrots last because I don't want them to get smushed. But you just want to make sure you see some salt and pepper on all the ingredients. All right, I'm going to go ahead and add in my peas and carrots. And again, it's just really, I love English peas, but it also adds some color to the dish. When you cut the pastry open, you're going to have that great green and orange color mixed in with your meat and potatoes in the actual pasty. So anyway, then we've got that mixed. We're going to set that aside here. I'm going to go ahead and get my pastries, but just make sure this is mixed real well. When we come back, we're going to put these bad boys together and pop them in the oven. I'm going to run grab my pastry, and we'll be right back. Okay, I've got my pre-made pastry that I've already rolled out here, and you know, this recipe calls for the small, what are they, the kind of fruit pie size, but you can also, there are varying recipes all over the place. You can also make them a large calzone size. I've got about an 8-inch or a 9-inch round here that I'm going to make a more of a family size version, and one of these cut in half is a nice size entree. But what you want to do is you want to make sure that you have equal parts of all your vegetables and your meat, and you want to spoon in these large ones, probably more about a cup. The recipe that I've posted suggests a half cup per little pie there, but I'm going to stuff these pretty good because they're real large, but this is going to make a real nice size, almost a calzone size pasty that you can then cut in half. If you're a hungry man, you know you can eat the whole thing by yourself, but if you have a smaller appetite, certainly a half of one of these would be just a really, really good entree size. And what we're going to do, we're going to let all this stuff spread out a little bit. I want to get it as full as possible, so you know, you may want to take your clean hands and stuff a few more bits and pieces inside of the actual pastry. And then what you want to do is we're going to take a little bit of water here, and we're going to wet the edges like this. Okay, I didn't like the way the fork was working, so what I've done here is I'm going to wet my fingers and seal them that way. And what I did over here, and again, you want to make sure they're sealed so the juices will stay inside. And what I've done is I took and I rolled them up a little bit and then pressed them down. Maybe it's not as artsy-fartsy or as pretty, but I like a good seal on them so the juices will stay inside. And for whatever reason, it's a humid day today, but my dough was sticking to the fork. So this is perfectly fine to do. Just make sure they're rolled up here and sealed. And there you go. We're actually going to end up with 3 large pasties. One final note you definitely want to do is before you pop them in the oven, you want to put a couple of 3 vents on each one. You can make it prettier with a knife, but I assure you these are going to get eaten. But be sure you vent each one of the pasties on the top so it can let some of the steam out as the meat and vegetables start cooking. Well, that's it for the assembly part of this. All right, we put these beauties together. We're going to pop them in the oven. They've got to cook 15 minutes at 400 and then reduce to 350 for another 45 minutes. So we're going to get them in the oven, cook them up, and when we come back, we'll cut one of these babies open and we'll show you the finished product. We'll be right back. Well, there they are, fresh out of the oven, folks. Nice and juicy. Cut them open, and as you'll see, you've got some great meat, vegetables, a real flaky crust, all ready to go. That's it for now. Thanks again to our loyal watcher, Sheilda from Birmingham, Alabama. Here we have, at her request, Authentic Cornish Pasties. Bon appetit, and we'll see you next time.